right at 4 p.m., so I will call to order the September meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. And Kim, can you start us off with the roll call, please?
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera. Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
Okay, so we do have all board members present. And first up, we have the consent calendar, which consists of the minutes from August, claims submitted, non-reverting budget amendments, business report. And then we have some smaller items in there as well. Just some fencing repair at Bryan Park tennis courts and relocating a garden shed and other things. We usually take all of these in one, although I understand there might be some public comment on A16, which is an addendum with Tennis Tech for court surface finishing. Do we have any public comment on anything here in the consent calendar? Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to take all these items in one. So if you want to go ahead and come up with
Actually,
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we remove from the consent agenda and consider separately the tennis tech resurfacing question.
Okay. All right.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, so we will remove A16 addendum to the court surface finishing, and then we will be taking A1 through 15 and then A17 as one motion. Yeah, we have a motion for that.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the consent calendar 1 through 15 and item 17.
Okay, and a second? Okay, and a roll call vote, please, Kim?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera. Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay. Motion is carried. And then, so we are okay then to just consider it separately at this point? Yeah, okay. All right. So this is, well, no, it's going to be pages away here, but.
I know. I was
And
trying to
it's just
find
like-
it in the agenda.
I think we're going to go ahead and discuss it now for, if there are any questions or comments. Let me get down to
It
this.
is page 225 in the packet
Okay.
in Keto's.
A16, that's a tennis tech resurfacing at the Park Ridge East Park. And I mentioned this last meeting. That was originally for 2 tennis courts that you're going to put on the lines. But I had a meeting, community meeting with pickleball players and tennis players at Park Ridge East, Tuesday, the 13th, 5:30 p.m. And 25 people showed up. And we give them 2 minutes to speak up their side, their opinions. And I asked them to listen, and I took the note. And the feedback we receive is, in this community, we need more pickleball courts. Mm-hmm. So A16, I'd like to get the permission to line 4 pickleball courts on the 2 tennis courts.
Okay. And yeah, and this also notes some pictures in the packet of some cracks in the court and in the tennis court and also the basketball court, some plants growing through the cracks. And so they're definitely in need of repair. So this is, the addendum recommendation is to add 4 pickleball court lines then. Do we have any questions for Keto?
Sure. So we have 2 tennis courts and 1 basketball court. So we'll basically there will be no tennis courts, and it will be 4 pickleball courts and then a basketball court.
Basketball and tennis court are 2 different locations.
Okay.
So we still have 2 tennis courts and basketball courts down here. Only 2 existing tennis courts, we are lining 4 pickleball.
4 pickleball courts. Okay. So that'll sort of remove the functionality for tennis.
Correct.
Okay.
Let me just jump in here. We will still paint 2
Tennis
tennis courts.
courts.
And on top of that, we will paint 4
Pickleball courts. Makes sense.
And Kido, if you'd like just to explain the pilot project and
Yes.
our idea for.
We'd like to use those 4 courts, take consideration the opportunity to have a pilot study. We'd like to collect the data from participants such as how many, when are they playing, length of playing time, and are you from IU or are you from public? Those are the data we'd like to collect and take the data to the future plan.
Right, because we know pickleball is growing, but get some numbers on how much it's growing and how much those courts are being used.
Okay.
So, okay.
I've
And
got a
obviously,
couple questions.
sorry, go ahead, Jim.
So how is this going to function switching between tennis and pickleball? If I show up and I want to play pickleball, or if there's 8 people that show up that want to play pickleball and 2 that show up that want to play tennis, how is that going to be handled?
That's good questions, but any other coach that we have, I don't step in and decide who is playing. It's community members. They'll talk and there's no rule. And they have to decide which sport they're gonna play. Unfortunately, I don't have any supervisors on the court and the monitor and enforce the policies or anything like that. So right now, it's any other tennis courts or pickleball courts, it's the same way we're gonna treat.
Okay, are there other tennis courts on the east side near Park Ridge East? Or are these the only Parks tennis courts on that side of town?
On the east side, I think that's 2 tennis courts that we have.
All right, and do you have combination pickleball, tennis ball courts elsewhere in the community?
Yes, we do. RCA Park, we do have tennis courts and pickleball courts together.
Where's that?
RCA.
Where is it? RCA.
Yep.
And are all the courts both pickleball and tennis?
We have 2 courts as a tennis only as of right now.
Jim, let me jump in here. In this community meeting, we definitely heard from both user groups, and we also heard that they wanted to work it out. And so essentially what we're proposing is a multi-use court situation, which we don't have anywhere. At RCA, there are 6 stationary pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts. So in the scenario that you described, people could coexist. At this site, and that's why it's a pilot, and we are working with the user groups, and we did hear that they play at different times and during the day and on weekends and that, and so these pickleball court nets will be portable and removable, and we're working through how that would work, but essentially, relying on the community to work amongst themselves and cooperate and, maybe interest some tennis players to play pickleball or vice versa. But again, this is a pilot and a site that we don't have this current setup.
My comment to that, and I've come from a tennis family, so I'll say that I'm prejudiced. I have played pickleball as well. My comment to that is that this probably is not the best place to do a pilot program when you're going to take you only have 2 courts to do a pilot program with, and you're going to do them where it's going to mutually exclude the other people from playing. So I have no objection to making one of the courts a combination pickleball tennis court, but it seems to me to remove dedication for either one is asking for trouble. If you want to do a pilot at Bryan Park or at Winslow or somewhere else where you can give dedicated to both, or do a pilot program at RCA. But to take 2 tennis courts, really the only ones on the east side, and having people fight it out, in my opinion, over whether to use those as tennis or pickleball and how they're going to do that, and I guess there was concern that we had last meeting about the noise that pickleball makes. Is that no longer a concern?
Yes, that's part of pilot study. We'd like to hear from the neighbors too.
Well, I guess we can vote on it, and other people can ask questions, but I'm opposed to converting both of these into both pickleball and tennis. I'd be okay with making one of them that way, and I don't like the pilot program idea either when you're only dealing with two courts that are mutually exclusive to each other. So I'll be voting against it, but there may be other questions.
Oh, just, is there any way, is there any visual of like I can't really picture, I haven't played pickleball, and I do sometimes play tennis, so I can't picture how it would work, and then just, would it be confusing to, I mean, would the overlay layout be confusing if you were trying to play
For
tennis
sure, there
there?
will be more lines. For
Okay,
sure.
yeah, you would just have to train yourself to ignore those, I guess.
We could use different colors.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm guessing has tennis technology done this before where they've got a court that is got painted lines for more than one sport on the same court?
Yes,
Yes.
answer is yes.
So I do like the idea of a pilot because at RCA, they removed the lines of the tennis courts that you converted to pickleball courts. Those got removed. They don't look like tennis courts at all anymore. They are just 6 pickleball courts.
Correct.
And then 2 dedicated. So I think it would be interesting to see what that looks like going out there to play and see what that looks like when you've got lines painted for both. And see, how the communities interact as far as can we move that net so we can play tennis or, whatever. I don't know. I think it's a good idea.
Is there any reason not to do that just on one court instead of both courts? And that's what the proposal was last month, that we would do one court.
Yeah, this is a pilot study. We'd like to see multiple courts and inclusive for all the players, both tennis and the pickleball players. The reason why we're doing this is not pickleball against tennis. This is what's best for the community. And how we can put those two sports on one area. Mm-hmm. So tennis players, they want to play pickleball, there's right there. Pickleball players showing interest to tennis, that's right there. So this is more for inclusion for everyone to play in multiple sports.
Kido, at the meeting that you mentioned, was there concern from the tennis players that both of the courts would be also pickleball? Were they concerned that there would be 2 taken up with pickleball and they wouldn't be able to get a tennis court time, or?
The feedback I received was as long as there's no permanent post for pickleball, they can still play tennis.
Right.
So that's the reason why we decided we're gonna use a portable system for pickleball. There's no permanent, so they can remove it easily.
Yeah, I didn't.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Oh, I was just going to say, I just imagine too, if we're talking about a contract to strip, resurface, I mean, it's time consuming, it's costly. We're making a decision that's based on doing both of these at the same time because it's probably cheap. It's saving us money in the long run to do this all together as one project, then say, let's do one and then decide about the other.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
How is the pilot project going to be, how are you going to evaluate this pilot project?
We have to collect the data first and see who's playing. And
How are you going to do that? How are you going to collect data? Are you going to have somebody at Park Ridge East all day to see who's playing and when they're playing? Or how are you going to collect that data?
That's a good question. I have to put everything from my head to the document, but right now I'm thinking about using a clipboard, low tech, or we can go Google Sheet if we have to. But there are a variety of options that we have.
And what is the goal of, it just seems like it's not very well thought out. This has all come up since the last meeting, and it just doesn't seem like it's very well thought out about how we're going to evaluate this, how we're going to do this pilot project, what the criteria is going to be for the pilot project. Is it going to be the more people that play? Is it going to be the loudest people? Is it going to be, how are you going to do this pilot project?
The reason why we want to collect the data is right now we don't know who's playing.
Right,
We
but
don't.
how are you going to collect the data?
How are we going to collect the data?
Yeah.
That's your question? Yes, I'd like to use a clipboard with a pen. That's low tech. They can sign in when they take those portable nets out. Or we can go for the technology, Google Sheet, we can provide, and we can ask who played. The reason why we want to get data is right now we don't have any data. Who's playing pickleball?
Right, I'm all
How
for
many
getting
times?
data.
And
I'm all
other
for
thing
getting
is,
data. We just need to have a plan of what we're going to do with it, what it means. But that's enough. We got a lot on the agenda. I'll pass it. We can vote on it and decide where we go. But I'm opposed to this action.
the other thing we can collect data is we can see, we've been hearing from pickleball players how many IU students are taking over the courts. And I can ask IU students or public, those are the data we don't have right now.
Jim, let me just jump in here real quick. I know we want to move this along, but one of the things that came out of the community group is there are several people who expressed an interest. They're working to organize the Bloomington Pickleball Club, and they have traveled, and they had really good resources and input, and we have met with them once and have broached this pilot idea with them, and they want to work alongside us to work out all the details of it. Again, we are just moving and presented this addendum to be able to have the option to paint pickleball courts. So again, that was a nice outcome of the community meeting, is this smaller focus group that will advise us and help us through the next steps.
What's the tennis representation on that? It's the Pickleball Association. What about the tennis players?
The community
Did you hear me?
meeting, yep, yes, I got it. Community meeting we had, yes, we do have tennis players. But focus group that I had was only for pickleball players because I want to get feedback from them.
So
It just seems to me it's not really thought out very well. So I think, especially when this is the only two courts, I don't want this to become the pickleball center where the pickleball committee decides this is where they're going to play their tournaments because they have two dedicated courts for it. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's very well thought out. But again, we can either, we can table it and get more information if anybody's, in fact, I'll make the motion to table it and let's get more information on it. And then we can decide from there.
Kathleen, I have a
Yes,
question.
go
Yeah, so there has been a request from the community, from the pickleball fans. There has been a request, and Paula, you mentioned like there is like a club, like a group. Do we know the number of members in this club? And the other thing is, was there any kind of observation before being committed to the project regarding the number of tennis players and the number of pickleball in other fields in the city? Do we have any kind of assessment about that kind of use of fields that we already have?
And that's a great point. The number that I have right now is pickleball club. They have 230 people registered. And that's the biggest so far that they told me about member-wise, 230.
So 200 is the number of like pickleball members or part of the group that.
Yeah, that's the member
requested it?
register for social media in the club.
Okay, I'm going to, I know we have a comment, and then we're going to have to move along because we do have Public Works coming in here at 5:30, and we still have a lot of agenda items. So if you, did you want to make a comment about this item? It's Nancy, right?
Yes. thank
Yeah.
you. Nancy Martin. Jim, I think I can answer a lot of your questions. You know, I used to be a tennis coach, and I'm a very tennis person. We're just happy that they're considering pickleball because there's only 2 places we can play, and there's lots of places you can play tennis. And the east side is pretty much a park desert. The only park we have on the east side at all is Park Ridge East. And, you know, I had a team that was 3rd in the state, so I've been a very intense, you know, tennis person. But at this time in my life, I can't play tennis. And having both lines on there is least fair. It's always first come, first serve wherever you play. And so it's not going to keep the tennis players from playing. And what you'll find is us retired people don't play when tennis people want to play. We pick the best time of temperature. I mean, we play at 9 in the morning every day of the week, but not on weekends because all the IU students come in and take over all the courts. And all the ones at that time at RCA Park, and mostly all the ones at Switchyard are busy at 9 o'clock in the morning. I played this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I played yesterday at 9 o'clock in the morning. At least this gives us an opportunity to do both. It doesn't keep the tennis players from doing tennis. My concerns were, where are the nets going to be stored? How are we going to get them out? And things like that. But getting them lined right now before it turns winter is an important deal. And with the lines on them, if they're different colors, it's not as confusing as what we had at RCA Park at first. We had, all of them were double striped, even though they made some permanent pickleball courts because they hadn't resurfaced them at all. And we could figure it out, but it was difficult when they were all the same color. I think having 2 colors would be really good. This doesn't preclude tennis players from playing tennis. And when we had our meeting, it's a park, the kids were so loud on the equipment that you would have never heard pickleball players. Tennis players that are at the USTA tennis tournament, they worry about noise. When you're out playing in a park where there's a basketball court right there, and there's a playground right next to it, you're not going to hear the pickleball players. All we do is laugh a lot. It's encouraged to aim at somebody at the net, whereas in tennis that's, you know, uncool, and they're just laughing all the time. But I play with a group that's age 62 to 80, and we play 4 times a week. How many other sports do you have people at that age? And I had my knee replaced June 7th, and I've been playing for a month. And so it's something I can do. I was a 4-sport athlete at North. I played basketball for Indiana University, and the one thing I can do now is play pickleball.
Okay,
So,
Nancy, I'm sorry.
thank
Yeah,
you
we
very
have to,
much. That's
and
all.
thank you for your comment. Okay, so we have a motion from Jim to table A16, maybe get more information about a possible pilot program. Do we have a second to table it? No? All right. In that case, we can review, this is an addendum, just to be clear, the contract is already established and the extra amount of money is $800 for the pickleball striping. Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the addendum for with Tennis Tech for court surface finishing?
I would move to approve the addendum with Tennis Tech for court surface finishing.
Okay. And do we have a second?
Yeah, I second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please, Kim?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
No.
Okay. Motion is carried, 3 votes to 1. Yeah, I would just echo some of Jim's questions that need to be thought out a little bit more, but I mean, I am hopeful that the community would work together to sort it out, who shows up at what time and what court's available, so I guess we'll see how it goes. So we'll move into the public hearings and appearances, and we have a Brava Award that Emily Book will tell us about.
Hello, everyone. Emily Boot, Community Relations Coordinator. The Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department would like to recognize Margaret Dow Ave, a dedicated environmental conservationist with the September Brava Award. And that's not a typo. Margaret is of Italian heritage, and she requested that we call it the Brava Award because that's the feminine version of Bravo. We thought it was kind of cool. So Margaret is a positive advocate for environmental conservation. She takes action each day to control invasive species in her yard, neighborhood, and city green spaces. She is influential in making engagement happen. Whether working alone with her loppers or with a group, you can be sure she is ready to talk with passerby, neighbors, or fellow weed wranglers about why we care about the spread of invasive species. Her involvement in civic service can be recognized through her involvement with the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Adopt a Green Space program. She is a leader alongside her friends and neighbors in removing invasive species in the Griffey Lake Nature Preserve Dunn Street Green Space. Margaret is also a weekly attendee at Weed Wrangles. Her suggestion to use bright flags to mark freshly cut stumps for treatment has led to a high rate of efficiency of control at each event. And most of all, we appreciate her valuable encouragement and support.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Margaret. Yes, please, come on up.
Quickly, I'd just like to thank the parks for teaming up landscape trails and also with MC Iris and getting the word out with everyone. So hopefully more and more people will start seeing these items as distractors and come out and maybe pick up something besides a pickleball racket or any other. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your time and effort.
Yeah. It's a long road against
Yes.
invasive species, so
And now
we
we-
appreciate it.
Now we have bamboo to fight, I hear. So, yeah. Okay, and then we have some staff introductions. We have a new urban forester, Haskell Smith.
Hello, everyone. Get far enough away from this thing. My name is Haskell Smith. I'm the new urban forester for the City of Bloomington Parks and Rec Department. I was actually born in the old Bloomington Hospital back in 1990. Spent most of my life bouncing around in between Kentucky and here before finally growing roots in 2014. In 2014, I actually accepted a seasonal position with urban forestry. And since then, I've continued to get all my certifications, certified arborist in 2018 and 2021. I got my tree risk assessment qualification. I was hired full-time labor at one point and then moved up to working four-person, and now I'm here. And I'm looking forward to working with everybody and continuing my growth as an arborist. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. You'll have a lot of work to do with the trees.
We'll hear from you a lot.
Yeah. All right, and then Michelle Wilson, customer service representative, journalism grad too, right?
What's that?
Journalism graduate?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, I saw
Yeah,
that.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Michelle Wilson, and I started on September 6th as customer service representative with Parks and Rec. Prior to coming to Parks and Rec, I was a special education paraprofessional at MCCSC for 15 years. I graduated from Indiana University in 1993 with BA in journalism and fine arts. I'm married to Keith, a mail carrier for USPS. We have two daughters, Maya, a PT student at University of Arkansas, and Quinn, a student in the College of Entrepreneurship at Florida State. She's right, kind of in the path right now of the hurricane that's coming down, so I'm a little nervous for her. But in my free time, I enjoy bike riding, especially along the Beeline Trail, and spending time with my family. I'm excited to be working for the board, the Parks and Recreation Department, and the Bloomington community, which have all provided my family with so many wonderful opportunities to thrive in the city that we love, Bloomington.
Thank you. Welcome to the
Thank
Parks
you.
Department.
Thank you so much.
And then finally, under our staff introductions, Kevin Terrell, Program Facility Coordinator at Banneker.
Hello, I am Kevin Terrell. I'm the new Program Facility Coordinator for Banneker Community Center. I'm excited about starting my new career with the Bloomington Parks and Recreation in this role. and I'm looking forward to bringing to fruition the vast potential that I believe that Banneker has within its walls. While my last position was at IU, I have a wide variety of experiences to bring to this position. Over the course of a long career, I've managed local businesses, worked for the U.S. Navy as a civilian contractor, and I've spent most of the last 12 years in a variety of different educational roles, including working in elementary schools and running a large after-school program. I know firsthand what a difference a facility like Banneker can make in a community, as I worked and eventually managed a very similar facility in my hometown. I'm thrilled to be in this new position, and I hope to make a positive difference in the lives of all the people in the Banneker community.
All right, thank you, welcome. A lot of good things going on at Banneker. Okay, and then we will move into Section C, Other Business, where we have a review of a contract with Jonathan, I think it's Rasick, for Rogers Family Farm art installation. Shaz.
Hi, everyone. Yes, so I'm Chaz Mottinger. I work as Special Projects Manager in the Economic and Sustainable Development Department. I'm filling in for Holly, our Assistant Director for the Arts. And we have a staff recommendation about this artist for the Rogers Family Farm. So the staff recommends approval of the installation of the sculpture entitled Fleeting by local artist Jonathan Rasick in the Rogers Family Farm as part of the park's overall restoration. And some background on it is, as part of the Rogers family's plan to fund the restoration and enhancement of the Rogers Family Farm, they asked that a sculpture be installed on the site to enhance the dynamics of the site. The Bloomington Arts Commission partnered with the Rogers family to solicit and review proposals for the sculpture and ultimately selected local artist Jonathan Rasick, who's also an IU professor, and his proposed sculpture Fleeting to be installed in the park. The anticipated budget for the project is $25,000, and construction on the sculpture will begin in this fall, and we expect the installation to be complete next spring. And that is in alignment with the completion of the overall work on the park. And we have a video to play.
Yes.
And I do apologize, there's some really pretty music to go with this, but it's,
So just go through the pictures.
okay.
Can you?
Yeah. Let me see.
Page down there. There we go. Just keep paging down the pictures. These are the pictures of the artwork from the application that the artist turned in. So just to give you a sense of what it will look like, the white image there is the existing barn. So that just kind of gives you a perspective of where on site this art piece will be displayed. That's
Okay, all right. Do we have any questions about the contract, Jonathan Rasick, for the art installation? No?
Have the Rogers had input into this, or have they seen this?
Yes, Meredith Rogers was part of the selection process with Holly and 3 members from the Bloomington Area Arts Commission.
I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please, for all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you, Chaz.
Great, thank you.
And next, Paula will tell us about her general fund budget request, the shorter version than the city council.
Good afternoon. I'm Paula McDevitt, Director of the Department, and yes, this is an annual presentation that I give. Normally, I give this presentation in advance of the presentation to City Council, but the way the schedule worked out this time, I've given the longer version presentation to Council back on August 30th. So I've condensed the presentation this evening just to give you some highlights, but more importantly, to let you know what our category requests are in our general fund. So I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly. As you know, you approved a new mission and values list for us this year. This is our updated infographic, which is a wonderful way to, at a snapshot, tell you a lot about our department that we happily update every year. And just a reminder that we make our budget goals, our strategic action plan, all under the umbrella of our master plan and these 4 goals. And before I get into the numbers, I just want to preface that with the challenges that we not only face in this year's budget, that some of them we didn't see coming, but they definitely have an impact on our 2023 budget request in that we have seen an increase across the board in supplies, which are category 2, and in services is category 3. Again, we are challenged still in recruiting and hiring seasonal employees and continuing to address vandalism and incidents in parks, which of course has a cost to them. In our budget presentation and in the budget memo that was included in your packet, there are several budget goals by area. Those all get put into our strategic action plan that we will be presenting to you early next year. And as you know, there is more than one budget goal per program area. So in this presentation, I just picked one from every area. I think it's really important that every area be represented in the presentation. But I believe this year we have 77 total budget goals, and we're about that for next year. So these are just some highlights by area. But as you know, all staff are involved in setting budget goals. They look at actuals from the previous years. We do zero-based budgeting. All of our goals are written with dates of completion. We update those biannually, and the current 2022 budget goal updates are available on the city website if you'd like to take a look at where we stand with our current year. But again, these are just some highlights of what staff are planning for in 2023. We have several projects ready for 2023 that staff are already starting to put together timelines and project list for to be able to hit the ground running in January. So again, really great pictures and wonderful goals. So just jumping into the details of the budget, our budget has 4 categories. Category 1 is personnel. That's where we have all full-time and seasonal staff. And our request for 2023 is $6,799,774. And this is a little over a $500,000 increase, or an 8%. And those increases come, we have requested 5 new positions that will be in category 1. But I will say that all of those positions, staff worked really hard and reallocated seasonal funding towards these full-time positions, and that is to address the struggle that we face hiring seasonal staff, and the work is there. One of the positions is at Switchyard Park, a new 4-person there. 2 positions are in urban green space and landscaping. As you know, we've taken on more there. Another position is in park maintenance, sanitation, so just keeping our parks clean. And the 5th position is actually a position in the sports division that was a coordinator that was left unfilled during the pandemic, and we have reorganized it into a specialist position. So the overall ask wasn't really big for these full-time positions because we reallocated seasonal funds. Also in category 1, as I mentioned, is our seasonal staff, and we pay living wage. So that went up 9% for 2023. So our seasonal staff we'll be making $15.29 an hour to $17.23 an hour. So we hope that that still makes us competitive, and we are successful in hiring seasonal staff. In Category 2 supplies, the request is $888,785, and that is a 41% increase. As I mentioned, our challenges in supplies, not only have we had difficulty getting supplies, supply chains have been challenging, but materials, playground material, fuel is in Category 2, and we all know what the fuel costs have been like. We would like to build a new shelter in building and trades. This is in Category 2, but really a lot of maintenance supplies for all that we are responsible for. In Category 3, other services, our request is $3,260,046, or a 4% increase. Again, related to service increases across the board. We have utilities in Category 3. But some of the new things, we are doing some bridge inspections next year. We have just startup costs at Frank Southern. For example, just an every year startup service costs. We will be entering into a new golf cart lease payment plan that comes up every 4 years, and we anticipate about a $20,000 increase in that. And just continuing our trail branding project and some electrical connections for our new electrical mowers that will be found in Category 4. So Category 4 is our capital improvements. These are projects or equipment purchases of over $10,000 or more. And this year, again, we are fortunate that there is still American Rescue Plan Act funding available. So normally Category 4 isn't quite this large for us, but we are definitely appreciative of this funding. And some of the items in Category 4 this year are the big one is a new playground at Bryan Park for the playground, the 5 through 12-year-old playground. That playground is about 24, 25 years old, so it's way overdue. We have several pieces of battery-operated equipment that we would like to purchase, along with some battery-operated vehicles. So in summary, our budget 2023 budget request is $12,013,705, and that is a $1,230,356 increase, or an 11% increase. Again, this breaks out just separately the categories that I just went through for our just over $12 million budget request. And again, this is all based on our master plan goals that feed into our strategic action plan and budget goals. Where we go from here is City Council did ask a few questions post-presentation. And we had, I think, 6 questions about invasive plant management, some history on Miller Showers Park. They meet again tomorrow night for an opportunity to ask more questions, and then meet for a final time October 12th. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for Paula about the general fund budget request?
Does the personal services budget line item, does that include, how are annual increases in salary handled? Are those included in that, built into that, or is that handled some other way?
That is in that category, yes. This year, that is proposed 5% increase for full-time regular employees. That's also Category 1 is where all the benefits are as well for full-time employees.
All right. So with that, that doesn't seem like that significant of an increase to me under the personal services.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same thought.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Paula?
Just something that kind of caught my eye on the switchyard park sound equipment. Is that in addition to what we had approved earlier this year with the all the sound dampening and some of those
What you approved was for in the pavilion. Yes, so the soundproofing material, which is greatly improved. What's in this budget is actually an expense to hang the sound equipment that we already own at the main outdoor stage.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't have any big questions. I guess I was impressed by the desire to always have things be a little bit more environmentally friendly with the mowers and all of that sort of thing. I did wonder about like LED signs and things instead of paper. I guess I wondered, I don't know, if there's any like maintenance of those, and I also worried a little bit about vandalism of a fancy sign versus something, a poster tacked up on a bulletin board, so, but I don't know, so.
Well, we play a pretty big part in the city's climate action plan, and that's where all that power equipment really taking a big step forward as a city and investing in that. So clearly we, I think, have the most pieces of equipment that we can make those improvements. And certainly vandalism is always on our minds, so we'll be mindful of that. But yeah, it's all part of that, just reducing paper and going more climate friendly.
Okay.
And then can you also remind me, it seems like the Switchyard Park has its own budget because will it always, or at some point it gets folded back into the, would that be an operations?
It's its own budget, correct. Okay. And we did a pro forma way before we built it. And it goes in line with why we have so many program budgets, is that we are able to track the true cost of an area. And that is such a substantial park that I anticipate it always being its own, right. And it's got its own non-reverting and all of that.
Right, okay.
So, yeah. Paul, you mentioned about how difficult it is to hire seasonal employees. So I wonder which areas the department needs more people in this moment.
The short answer is all areas. Aquatics was successful this year because they trained their own staff and started early. So lifeguards in that, we were out ahead of that. But in operations, seasonal employees in landscaping and park maintenance, just in sports, it's just across the board. It's been really, really difficult. We're finding that again in seasonal and in full-time. It's just a really challenging market, and one that we continue to look at and find new avenues of where to advertise our positions and that, but it continues to be a challenge.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Paula? If not, we can take a motion for this one.
I'll move to approve the 2023 general fund budget request.
I second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
I don't think I vote on this one since I'm not in
Sorry
first.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, right, that's right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, motion carries by 3 votes. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Okay, and then next up, Clarence Boone will tell us about a contract template for the 2022 holiday market vendors.
Good afternoon, Clarence Boone, Farmers Market Coordinator, here to recommend approval of the holiday market contract template and local product agreement. Staff recommends that we approve the contract template for local product vendors at the 2022 holiday market. The projected revenue is $300 to $450. All revenue received from booths will be deposited into the respective account. The background, the 20th annual holiday market takes place on Saturday, November 26th at the City Hall, and it's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Bloomington City Hall parking lot in Showers Plaza. The visitors can shop for locally grown farm products and arts and fine crafts created by local artisans while enjoying local entertainment, carolers, photo opportunities, and holiday fare. This event is one of the area's most beloved traditions. And there are no significant changes that have been made to the template, and it has been approved by the legal department. And this is an agreement between the participating vendors and the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation, detailing the expectations and policies for both parties. Are there any questions?
Okay, do we have any questions for Clarence?
I just had a comment that the last page still references the 2021 holiday market. Just an FYI.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
Yes, that correction
Yeah.
okay,
is forthcoming, forthwith.
Yeah.
okay. All right, if we don't have any other questions, do we have a motion on this one?
Sure. I'll move to approve the contract template for holiday market local product vendors.
And I second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please, Kim?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion's carried. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Clarence. And next, Crystal Ritter will tell us about the template for the holiday market artists.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Crystal Ritter, Community Events Coordinator. I am here today to recommend the approval of the 2022 Holiday Market Artist Exhibitor Agreement for the Holiday Market. As Clarence stated, this year's event will take place on Saturday, November 26th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. We are excited that this is the 20th anniversary for the holiday market this year, and we hope to highlight as many artists as we can this season. This contract before you today outlines the agreement between the artist vendors and the City of Bloomington for the expectations for their vending booths, including things such as the cost, what they need to clean up, and various things like that. There were no major edits to this year's contract, so mostly only the dates were edited, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions for Crystal? No?
I'll
Okay.
move to approve the contract template for holiday market artists.
And I second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Crystal. Motion is carried. And then we have next up is our annual vote about a fee waiver for the Parks Foundation golf outing. And Keto will tell us about this.
Good afternoon. Kido again from Sports Division. I hope it's gonna go easier. This is an event we do annually. This is the 30th event done Bryan Golf Scramble. We'd like to ask to waive green fees and cart fees for this event. This event is the fundraiser for Bloomington Parks Foundation, and we are raising $5,000 to $9,000 every year. That money goes to some of the money goes to the scholarship, and we'd like to ask to waive green fees and cart fees.
Okay. Oh, okay, and this is starting next Wednesday? This
Wednesday, this is
right.
a one-day event.
Yes, okay. And it says park board members are welcome if we want to form a team.
Any golfers?
Not a golfer.
No? All right. Okay, any questions for Keto?
I'll move to
Okay.
approve. We waive the fees for the golf scramble for the Bloomington Parks Foundation.
I second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
and Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Okay. And motion is carried. And then Keto will also stay with us to tell us about the agreement with Owen Valley Sports Productions for field project at Twin Lakes Sports Park Fields.
Yes, this is a unique project that we have. I'd like to get approval for the service partnership with Ohio Valley Sports Production, LLC. They will work with us to push back some of the infield to allow us to play 60-90 baseball at Twin Lakes Sports Park. current setting that we have is mainly for slow pitch softball, which is 65 base pass and 50 for the pitching. We can play baseball with younger age. Most likely that's 12U. We'd like to expand aging range to bring more teams into Bloomington. So we'd like to cut infield egg line 3 to 4 feet and push it back. So we can play 14U, 13U baseball at Twin Lake Sportsplex. And this is gonna be a great impact in Bloomington, still Bloomington too. In summertime, hotels, restaurants, teams gonna bring in from all over Indiana, probably Midwest, so.
Okay.
So can I just ask,
Yes,
what, so what age group does that allow for? Is it older age groups that
Older
need
age
a
groups.
bigger field? Okay.
That's gonna be mainly 14U, 14U.
Uh-huh. And we haven't hosted those tournaments before.
We don't have facilities, so we
That's
couldn't.
great. Okay. Sounds
So
reasonable.
can you play
Okay.
both?
Any other
age
questions?
groups?
Oh, is Jim asking a
Yeah,
question?
sorry. Can you play younger
Okay,
age groups?
hold on, we can't
If
hear you, Jim.
Cut it back, can you play both age groups by having different dimensions? Maybe I didn't ask the question very well.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Just give us,
Oh.
give us 1 second.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, if you could repeat, you were turned down for a
Yeah,
minute.
will you be able to play both the older age and the different base pass when you cut the field back, or will that eliminate the younger group?
That's a
Those
great
fields.
question. We're gonna keep the current setup as a base pass, so we can make adjustable younger age to older age.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. for
Oh,
this
yeah,
one.
I'll move to approve the partnership agreement with Ohio Valley Sports Production.
Okay, and all those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera. Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Peter. And then in C7, Emily Book will tell us about the volunteer recruitment and volunteer background check policy update.
Yeah, again, Emily Boot, Community Relations Coordinator, and we recommend the passage of updates to Department Policy 14010, Volunteer Guidelines, and Department Policy 14020, Background Checks for Volunteers. So upon receiving a request for a community corrections placement from a citizen, Julie and I noticed that the two policies regarding volunteers and background checks had not been amended since October 2015 and hadn't been reviewed since October 2020. So the first policy, 14010 on volunteers, primarily covers how volunteers will be recruited, managed, and recognized. It also discusses their various responsibilities as volunteers. And the updates to this policy were almost entirely language-based, updating the name of the volunteer database, updating the supervising role to community relations coordinator as opposed to special services coordinator, and the like. And then the next policy, 14020, court-mandated community service and background checks for volunteers, was updated to reflect the current language and job titles of the department as well as to specify examples of program categories that we require background checks for volunteers. And both of these policies have been reviewed and approved by the city's legal department. You guys have any questions?
Okay, and when you say community corrections placement upon a request from a citizen, so you're referring to someone who's been like court ordered to do volunteer work?
Community service, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, and thank you for including the updates for us to see here. Any questions for Emily?
I don't think so. Seems reasonable to review and approve again, since it had been so long.
Okay, do you want to move?
Sure, I can move to approve volunteer recruitment and volunteer background check policy updates.
Okay, and all those in favor, roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera. Jim Whitlatch.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Emily. Motion carries. And then C8, Sean Marler will tell us about the noise permit application.
Good afternoon. Sean Marler, Switchyard Park General Manager. I would like to recommend acknowledgement of the Office of the Mayor's Executive Order concerning noise permits and approval of Parks and Rec Department's process to review and approve noise permits in compliance with said executive order. Previously, the Bloomington Public Works Department has been responsible for reviewing and approving all noise permits for parks and any city properties, such as streets, et cetera. The Office of the Mayor has enacted an executive order recently authorizing the Parks and Rec Department to review and approve noise permits for events on park properties. Public Works will still retain authority to review and approve noise permits for all other city properties. All external events submitting a noise permit required will be reviewed by myself as the Switchyard Park General Manager and the person responsible for reviewing park special use permits. Noise permits will follow a similar process to the existing noise permit park special event permit process, including submission and routing, with final approval by the Parks Administrator, Paulo. All internal events submitting noise permits requests will be presented to the Board of Park Commissioners for approval, since we don't want to approve our own stuff. So there should be in your board packet a copy of the noise permit as recommended and the mayor's executive order.
Okay, all right. Any questions for Sean about this change to the noise permit process?
Is there some background story behind this, or?
Yeah.
There's not really anything. It's just a question of the process. When somebody fills out a park special use permit, they would fill out that permit and it would go to me, and the noise permit part of that would go to Public Works. So you had two different departments within the city who were responding to permits for this same event. So it was decided by the mayor, based upon feedback from Public Works and Parks, that it would make sense for parks to administrate permits on park property.
Seems to make sense to me. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the.
Just one quick question regarding the submission. So if the people in charge of an external event, they are not requested to send noise permits. It's just if they want to request the.
So not every event uses a noise permit. There are many events that do not need one. Generally, we tell people if they're doing amplified sound or something that would affect people at a distance, they should request one. The noise permit is very simple, unlike the park special use permit, which is long and has a lot of questions. Noise permit is very quick and easy. So not every event needs one, but when they do, right now, currently, they're sending it off to a different group. So it's been confusing for both the person organizing the event, and then Public Works also has to back check with me to make sure I've approved the special event. So this would just streamline the process, make it simpler for everyone.
Right, and just teach me here. So if it comes from the departments, Public Works or our commission or Polo's department, so there could be a request from the departments to certain events that are taking place in the city, or is just the assessments will be just if they send for approval the noise permit?
I guess I'm not quite sure of the question. If they have a request for a noise permit, when they're doing an event on park property, it would go to me, it would be routed to me. Was that the question?
Right, you don't receive the noise permit from any external.
Yes, if they're not on park property, it would still go to Public Works.
It will go to Public Works.
So for instance, if somebody was having a block party on their street and they were closing down the street, they go to Public Works for the permission to close down the street. They would also get the noise permit for that event from Public Works. If they're having an event in a park, though, they would do both our permit and our noise permit.
Okay, all right. We don't have any other questions? You want to?
Yeah, I'll move to, so I think we're just basically acknowledging the mayor's executive order regarding the new process for the Parks Department to review and approve noise permits.
Yeah, second.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
And then C9, Barb Dunbar will tell us about the review, or tell us about the contract with Miller Welding for fencing project at the Rose Hill Scatter Garden.
Good afternoon, Barb Dunbar, Operations Coordinator. We recommend approval of a contract with Miller Welding for the fabrication and installation of fencing at the new, what will be the new Rose Hill Scatter Garden. Funding source is from the cemetery's budget, line 399, and the contract amount is for $12,000. So this is just a fourth contract. You've already approved several for this project. This is yet another element of that project. The fencing will be only enclosing the small oval area in that area of the scatter garden that you would drive up to, walk into. The fencing will enclose the actual oval section where the cremains would actually be scattered, because we don't want people walking through there for obvious reasons. There will be a gate at the west end to allow the company that will be doing lettering on the monument in the center of that, where they would put the loved ones' names and dates. So,
Okay,
pretty much it.
all right. Any questions for Barb?
No, and a nice project.
Yeah, okay.
I'll move to approve the contract with Miller Welding.
And I second.
Okay, roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. And then Barb will stay with us for one more item, C10, which is the contract with Woods Electrical Contractors for electrical enclosure at Miller Showers.
Yes, so we are asking for your approval of another contract with Woods to replace the existing electrical box and/or enclosure and transfer all of the existing interior electrical panel board and lighting controllers. And the funding source for this is from the Parks ARPA Fund for a total of $7,985. So a little background on this. This was a very unfortunate accident for us. In May of this year, the box was it's at the southeast section of that park where where the little parking lot is there at the end of the park there. It was hit by an uninsured, intoxicated driver, and unfortunately all of the costs come back to us. So yes. So this contract will replace that box and all of the wiring.
That is unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
Okay. All right, any questions for Barb about this? No? Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I will move to approve the contract with Woods Electrical Contractors.
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Barb. And then finally, under our Section C, Joanna Sparks will tell us about the partnership agreement with For Good Reasons Roofing for Rogers Road, Sayre Road, Adopt a Roundabout.
Yes, last but not least, Joanna Sparks, City Landscaper, here today to recommend approval of a partnership with For Good Reasons Roofing to adopt the Sayre and Rogers Road Roundabout. They would like to pick up the maintenance responsibilities for that. It is a 5-year partnership, which we each have the opportunity to exit with 2 weeks' notice, and good communication. They seem very happy, and I'm excited about the opportunity to serve their local community. They live in the area and travel back and forth past the roundabout multiple times each day. So be happy to answer any questions.
I was just curious, was it adopted prior to this group? And did they decide whoever that was decided not to renew?
Yes, it previously was adopted by Mother Nature Landscaping. They also had adopted the Winslow High and Rogers Roundabout just down the hill to the west previously, and they, due to economic impacts, they withdrew from both of those partnerships at the end of their agreements.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do we advertise this, solicit for Adopt a Roundabout? Is that a well-known program or?
Well, it's an it's an organic process we're still
Yeah.
developing, but basically, Julie and Ellen designed Adopt a median available signs that I just post on there, and it's really kind of miraculous. I mean, pretty rapidly we get calls.
Good.
So yeah, the Winslow High and Rogers roundabout, as soon as we put the signs up, we got a call as well.
Oh, good.
An interesting fact, this adopter was actually the runner-up to adopt the Winslow High and Rogers roundabout earlier this year. So,
Nice.
but they were the first to reach out as well this
Oh,
time.
good.
Okay.
So the improving and beautifying would be like cleaning and using different plants, non-invasive plants. Is there anything else when
Well,
it is mentioned improving and beautifying?
I was going to say, unfortunately, it just involves a lot of weed pulling. Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, there are a lot of weeds in those beds. So, yeah, regular maintenance will help cut down that seed bank. So, yeah, and it's my hope that this, in the spring of 2023, we can work together with them to do sort of upgrade the installation. Lots of things have senesced over the years, and it'd be nice just to spruce it up a little bit, a few more colors out there, some more vivacious native plants.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Joanna?
I'm just curious about like how many roundabouts in the city we have with this adopt a roundabout. Is this
Well, we're actually responsible for three roundabouts within the Parks Department, urban green space area, and the third being the 17th and Monroe, at the bottom of the hill of Tri-North there, which is mostly paved with just art installation and small beds, and it is not adopted. So we currently have the Adopt a Roundabout program for the two aforementioned roundabouts, but we also have 3 grassy medians on Clarice Boulevard on the east side of town. Blooming Foods, Comfort Keepers, and then Elders Home Journey are adopters to those 3 medians out there, and they're turf only. And unfortunately, because of the utilities, we can't have any trees planted, so they will remain turf.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay. All right, do we have a motion for this one?
I will move to approve the partnership with 4 Good Reasons for adopting the Rogers and Sarah Road roundabout.
Isaac?
Okay, and a roll call vote?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you very much.
And then we have one report, kind of an update in our Section D from Tim Street about the Bicentennial Gateway project.
Hello, I know we have a public comment waiting.
Yeah.
I'm going to be brief.
Okay.
Good evening. Tim Street, Operations Division Director for Parks and Rec. Just giving you an update on a project we haven't touched base with you in a while on. We anticipate some substantive updates coming soon, but just wanted to let you know where we're at with this. In 2018, as part of the Bicentennial bond issue, $1.25 million was earmarked for gateways across the city. Before COVID, an initial study was done to review up to 4 gateway sites as part of through COVID and everything that happened after public feedback was solicited. Earlier this year, we narrowed it down to 2 sites. One is this North Gateway site at Miller Showers Park. We are currently working with Rundell Ernstberger and Associates to build out some schematic design and renderings for the gateway here. And also, Kim, let's see. Nope. Can you advance it for me? Go one more, please. And also here at the Arlington Ped Bridge that goes across 46. So we are currently reviewing some ideas from REA for these 2 gateway sites from aesthetic, safety, cost, and maintenance perspectives. We're coordinating with some other departments to make sure we get some of the things right I anticipate that very soon we're going to be able to share some concepts. We do want to do another round of public feedback along with a press release. And so we're going to be setting up an evening in the atrium this fall to share those design concepts with the public, to gather feedback, and additionally, we'll be posting those online. So just a minor update tonight to let you know this project is still out there progressing, and that we anticipate having some actual renderings in motion on this to show soon, so that we can hopefully move towards a bid in early 2023. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions about the Gateway project?
No, but I appreciate the update.
No? It'll be fun to see some
Yeah.
final design pictures. So,
Yes.
Yes.
We look forward to showing them. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Tim. And then in our public comment section, we just ask people to tell us their name, and we generally allow 2 minutes for each person for a public comment.
My name is David Slybaum, and I haven't seen you guys for a while, but I was talking to Paula about some of the stuff that they were able to get done in People's Park as far as straightening up. And she let me do this thing as far as we want to formally put a proposal before the Parks Board that we have, the first thing we'd like to try to incorporate is signage that we put into the parks and stuff. Instead of the no panhandling signs, we're suggesting that you have what we call a code of conduct. And that means that you be nice, be respectful, be responsible, clean up a mess. You know, with that last one, we can work on it, but that's what we're wanting to try to do is whatever somebody else wants to be on there, that's part of it. And then I've also had the chance to meet with Tim, and I really appreciate the time that he gave me, and this is, we're trying to do what we call the three strike rule, that if we can have this type of introduction as far as being able to monitor and address what we're calling the hardened criminal activity in the park. And what we're trying to do here is once we do, if we can do the one which we've pretty much said that's going to be something that's doable from what I understand. So if we can do that, we would also like to have some input because we're concerned too. We have trouble addressing people who they're abusing our property, okay? And we've put up with it now for a couple of years, and we couldn't really come in here and make any recommendations or suggestions. So now that's why we're here. And we want to be able to, one, it's going to be able to address the safety issue, that we don't have a way of monitoring or, telling people to leave. And then the other part of it is, if a person gets 3 strikes, then they're not going to be allowed to use the city parks.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's one of the things that we're wanting to
Yes.
try to have the input on. So if there's anything else that you guys need for us to do,
Okay,
please let me know.
yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you for your comment.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, all right, and then we'll go back over to Paula for squeeze in any last announcements before we get kicked
Just
out?
that we turn around and meet again October 18th, so shorter turnaround period. And I know that Kim has been in touch with you about meetings scheduled for the rest of this year. And then just finally, I would like to remind you about the reception for board and commission members this Friday evening at from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Cascades Golf Course Clubhouse. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I'll adjourn the September meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners.